My name is Adelle Vickery. I've been with Lakeside for about 4 years now. I started here right after graduating from Waterloo with a degree in chemical engineering. I started on our regional team selling measurement devices to our end users. About 2 years ago, I shifted into our food and beverage team, where I help design and specify process skids for food and beverage customers. I've been doing that for about 2 years, and it's been a great shift in my area of focus, and I've been really enjoying it. So my role is, it really changes day to day. Some days it is very focused on creating budgets for these projects for customers. So sending out the RFQs for the equipment and really pricing what they would like, pricing the solution for them. So that is my primary focus, is creating the proposals, outlining the scope, and outlining why the solution is right for them. Throughout high school, I always knew that I wanted to get into engineering, and specifically chemical, that it really lined up with my interests and what I wanted to do with a career. I grew up in a small town in northern Alberta, so my journey to where I am now really started with my decision to go to Waterloo, the University of Waterloo, for my education. And what really drove me to that is similar to what Iman said, was the co-op program that was available. Waterloo's is a little different than McMaster's, where I was required to do 6 co-op terms. And I really used that opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do, what industry, what types of work, because engineering gives you a wide array of different job functions that you can do. So I really wanted to find where I fit, or find what I maybe didn't like. So I did a variety of different jobs. I did 2 terms at an oil and gas company, working in technical services, actually working on operating the plant. I worked in automation in that same facility. I worked at a design house in a consulting function, so really designing plants. And I spent a term in manufacturing. So very different environments that gave me a wide array of different experiences, which helped me find employment at Lakeside after I graduated, because like Iman said, companies like seeing that experience. But on the flip side, it also showed me what I did and did not like about different companies that I worked at, and the job functions that I did. So that's really how I ended up at Lakeside. It's a very culture forward company, which I felt lacked at some of my other work placements. And it really combined a lot of the different things that I liked about my past work experiences. It touched on automation and process control, as well as that design piece that I liked from those 2 different co-op terms that I did. And then for the position that I'm in right now, with the food and bev team, I was actually an internal posting that I almost didn't apply to. My concern was that I was pretty new to Lakeside. I only had 2 years, and I was concerned that they were looking for someone a little more established and brought more experiences. But near the end of the application period, I took a jump and put my name in and went through the interview process, and I was eventually selected. And it's been a great 2 years since then, and I am very grateful the opportunity that Lakeside gave me to have this position. It's been a great opportunity to get out of my comfort zone and really develop the various skills that I can in this job. Overcoming that kind of hurdle of being taken seriously and having your voice heard. And I'll broaden that a little bit to even just the feeling of being an imposter. Imposter syndrome is very real in STEM fields and in the skilled trades. of questioning if you belong and if you have a voice and if you have a say in that. So my first co-op term through Waterloo, I was 19 years old and I was working for a company with a lot of tradesmen that were many, many years my senior. So being in those conversations where I'm a 19-year-old, pretty petite at the time, and just very new and very green to the industry, being taken seriously, and how do you get these people to trust what you have to say and trust that you know what you're doing and that you're not just making things up, and how do you get them to trust you? And that's not something that I struggled with just at the beginning. It has, in its own way, carried throughout my entire career. Different co-op terms, different co-workers, different experiences, and even just my internal feeling like an imposter. Like I said, I almost didn't even apply to a job that I was eventually deemed qualified for. So in terms of how I've overcome that is just really taking the time when I do achieve something to acknowledge that and really like bring myself up. I have to be my own cheerleader sometimes and say like, no, you are smart, you are capable, you can do this. You've gotten this far for a reason. And in terms of the external piece of convincing others that you know what you're doing, I always try to come to any conversation with data or research or something to back up my statements. I try to avoid making I think or I believe or I feel statements that give way for someone to question it. So it's the data says this, or experiences show that this is the right path, and really use data and research to guide my opinions. I mentioned it earlier. I grew up in Alberta. I moved to Ontario in 2012 to go to university. And that move was definitely the biggest risk that I took. I'm from a very large family. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So it wasn't something that was expected of me to do. I applied to a number of universities, including ones in Alberta. So I could have stayed home. But I was focused on how to give myself the best chance to succeed. And in my mind, that was the co-op program and experimenting and trying different things. And that was something that I thought I could get at Waterloo. So in terms of how I was able to do that, to move my life and kind of start over in a new province where I didn't know anyone, it comes down to support system, like Angel said. I have a huge family and they were all extremely supportive and still are. And knowing that they were there to catch me if I fell was all the kind of push that I needed. Another thing that I kept in the back of my mind was that the best way to grow is to step outside of your comfort zone. As soon as you are uncomfortable, you have much more chances of growing and improving yourself. I can't imagine the person that I would be if I had stayed home and if I hadn't moved here, because I moved. I can't change that, and I'm very happy with my decision. I'm very happy with where I ended up and the path that I've put myself on. I think there's different sides to increasing diversity in the workplace. There's obviously the hiring side of how do we attract more talent, how do we hire more talent of a diverse background? And that's not an area that I have a lot of experience in. There are ways, blind resume reviews being one of them. But I think the other side of that is also important, of how do we maintain diversity in the workplace? How do we make an environment and a culture where everyone feels supported and valued so they remain in the workplace? Does everyone in a in a specific company see a pathway to success for themselves? Do they see themselves in the leadership team? Do they see themselves in a future position that they want? Do they see a way that they can pave a path for themselves? We need to ensure that we're fostering diverse thinking in all scenarios, in meetings, in brainstorming sessions, in operational improvement. Are we taking the different perspectives of the diverse nature of a workforce? And it's not just gender that this plays into, it is age, it is race, cultural background, sexual orientation, anything. Everyone, no matter their background, has a unique perspective on the workplace, on their field. And we need to encourage that diverse thinking by ensuring we're asking everyone for their input. So in meetings, is everyone sharing their opinion? Are there people that are kind of fading into the background and being more silent? And if they are, we need to encourage them to speak up and share that. I've been in a number of meetings where I am the only woman, and it is very easy to let people talk over you or interrupt you. And we need to make sure that we stand our ground, and that comes into play with our allies too. If you see a woman that is being talked over, give them a voice. Say, do you have something to add to this?